within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Mack Pack. It's great to be back with you. It's been a little while since our last broadcast. We took a week off. We're in the process now of doing some things that are a little different, and I will explain a little bit more of that in a moment. First and foremost, I am Mack Worley III, and this is On the Move. This is the show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights, and I'm really excited about today's show. We're going to be covering a whole slew of topics here, but first and foremost, today is August 31st, 2014, and we're going to be covering a bunch of topics. Like I said, today's title is Big Brother is Watching You. This is episode 40, by the way. We're going to talk about Big Brother, and more specifically, when I say Big Brother, I'm referring to the ever-expanding police state, surveillance state, this federal leviathan that we keep helping grow every day. We're going to deep dive on this subject today, and I want to hear from you guys today, okay? So make sure you call in, light up the lines. The Mack Pack phone lines are open. The number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986. And if you have any other topics that you would like to discuss, feel free to bring them up as well. Anything is on the table, so feel free to call. You can also join the conversation if you're not really into the whole, talking on air and everything. I get it. You're more than welcome to send us an email at talk@onthemoveshow.com. We have that set up for you guys. So we'll be reading your emails and listening to your calls as well. We don't have a guest for today's show, so we're kind of, in a different area here. We haven't done this in quite a while, and I'm really excited to do this. This gives me more time with you guys and allows me to really focus on the topic that we're talking about today. So, as always, you guys can get more information about us, our show, and everything that we're doing on our website, onthemoveshow.com. You can subscribe to us here at blogtalkradio.com/onthemoveshow. You can follow us or like us on facebook.com/onthemoveshow. And, of course, we appreciate it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/onthemoveshow, and follow us at Twitter at onthemoveshow. So, anyway, and for anybody who's interested, we also have our store at onthemoveshow.com. It's on the shop link there. Lots and lots of products for sale on there, ranging from T-shirts that we have originally designed ourselves to freeze-dried food, to books that I recommend reading, bumper stickers, and so much more. I mean, there's tons of stuff on there, guys. Feel free to check it out. Anyway, your purchases will help make our show bigger and better. We take that money, we put it back into the program, give us more stuff like equipment, microphones, things like that. There's a bunch of things that I'm trying to save up for right now to make the show bigger, and I'm going to talk about those changes here in one moment. I want to just say thanks, everybody, for your support, for checking out and those kind of things like our store and whatnot, and also for tuning in every day. I do this show because you guys listen. Honestly, to be honest, I'd probably do it if nobody was listening anyway. But, the interaction I get with you guys is the reason why I keep doing this thing, and it makes it worthwhile. So, anyway, I want to talk a little bit about why we took the week off. And first and foremost, I've been trying to figure out how to make the show better, how to take it to the next level. As you may know, we've had some technical problems with Blog Talk Radio the last few episodes, and I would really like to move us away from Blog Talk. I'm really kind of getting tired of it. I may use it, as an alternate for audio sources, but I could easily just switch to another service. That's not a big deal. There's so many other things out there that I could use, but I'm looking for something different. There's a lot of blog talk radio shows or, just straight up podcasts out there, and I want to take it to the next level. So as of right now, I've been trying to figure out how to do a live event on YouTube using Google Hangouts to do the show. And as many of you know, I am not a tech guy. I'm not savvy in technology by any means. And in fact, I would say I'm pretty illiterate when it comes to technology nowadays. And some of that's by choice. But anyway, I want to give you guys the ability to listen to the audio of the show, but also I want to give you the ability to actually watch what goes on and actually see it and put that on our YouTube channel as well. So if there are any tech gurus out there that know how to do this kind of stuff, if you know how to set up a camera, like a high-quality camera, to actually work as kind of a webcam in conjunction with YouTube or Google Hangouts or something like that, and how that would work, please contact me. The show's email is talk@onthemoveshow.com. I'm looking for any kind of help that you guys can offer. So anything at all, please. I could use some help with this stuff. Anyway, we're moving on here. We're actually going to go into the listener challenge today. This is the first segment of the show, and here we go. This thing takes a while to load, sorry.
I challenge you to a duel. Did you hear that? Sounds like it's time for a challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge. Listener challenge.
All right, this is a segment of the show where I give you guys a mission. Get out there, get on the move, do something. And today's mission is very, very simple. I want to hear from you today. I want you to call in, and I want you to email. I want to hear from you. This show is about getting involved, and I want maximum participation today. So listen up, Mack Pack. The phone lines are open. Feel free to call in 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com and join the conversation today. I really want to hear from you guys. I want your 2 cents on what I'm talking about. Big Brother, the surveillance state, police state. I want to hear from you. So that's this week's challenge. Speak up, stand out. I mixed that up here. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. So today we're going to go ahead and go back into another segment here. This Day in History. This is one of my favorite ones in here because I'm a big history buff, and I know a lot of you are as well. So we're going to go through just a few things here. I got a big list of things that happened here on this day in history, but I want to go through some of these here and actually, talk about them a little bit here.
This Day in History.
Because people have got to know whether or not the president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Yesterday, what country can do for you.
December
Gorbachev teared down this wall.
And the people who knocked these buildings down.
A date which will live in infamy.
We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
Okay, on this day in history, in 1422, Henry VI became King of England at the age of 9 months. In 1535, Pope Paul II excommunicated King Henry VIII of England. In 1842, Micah Rugg patents a nuts and bolt machine. That's a pretty big advance into actually being able to use nuts and bolts. 1842, that's pretty crazy. The Liberty Party in 1843 nominated James Bernays as presidential candidate. Thomas Edison patented the I can't say that word, kinetoscope, which produces moving pictures. Anyway, in 1897, Edison also patented his movie camera. That was shortly after that. Anyway, Britain in 1907 they signed a treaty with Russia and Afghanistan. And let's see here. That was Persia and Tibet were involved in that as well. Sorry, this is kind of a little bit different format than what I'm used to here for this. In 1914, German troops reconquered Soldau and Niedenberg, which is in East Prussia. 1914, Germany defeated Russia in the Battle of Tannenberg. 30,000 Russians died. In 1919, John Reed formed the American Communist Labor Party in Chicago. And, that's almost 100 years ago. Right now, we are seeing a turn in our politics. We have a elected mayor. I believe it's now I'm brain farting his name. The mayor of New York. Wow, I really cannot believe I'm forgetting his name. Anyway, he's a self-proclaimed communist, and we have, socialist, and we have right now in Washington, in Seattle, there is a communist or a socialist party that's being built up. They are actually building up a socialist party, and they're getting a lot of support off of that. I find it very, very disturbing that we are openly having these communist, socialist, Marxist parties. Things along those lines. It's a very disturbing trend. Anyway, in 1920, Detroit radio station was the first one to broadcast a news program on the air. In 1939, the Japanese invasion was driven out of Mongolia, and let's see here. I'm just skimming some of this here. Some of the most interesting ones. Okay, 1992, Howard Stern radio show premiered in Cleveland, Ohio on WNCX 98.5 FM. I want to talk a little bit about this. I know, I'm not Howard Stern by any means, and I don't cover the same kind of material that he does, but Howard Stern was a bit of a revolutionary when it comes to radio and free speech on the radio. You may disagree with the content of his program, and you may not like him, or you may like him a lot. I don't know. But Howard Stern really took shock jocks mainstream, and really, it was something that no one had been doing. I think that's why it became so wildly popular. Anyway, in 2012, Apple lost their patent with Samsung in Tokyo, Japan. Now, this is actually something that I know a little bit about. Apple and Samsung, they've had this battle going on, basically, this war between the two companies where they're really, really aggressively fighting each other for your business and, for new ideas. And this is something that I'm actually a fan of. I love the fact that there are two big companies that are actively competing against each other. I think it creates innovation, and it actually will, be beneficial to the consumer. We have two companies that are competing, so that means that prices for the phones are going to go down. The quality of the phones are going to go up, and we're going to see more innovations because of this. And Apple and Samsung, they've had some bad blood, even before this. But you have the classic iPhone versus Android debate that's going on right now, And anyway, it's I think it's a good thing. Now, I'm sure in a few years we're going to see Apple and Samsung are owned by the same company, as we usually do. And I'm sure you guys know that right now Comcast is trying to merge with Time Warner, and Comcast right now, they already control 30% of the media. So 30% of everything that you see and hear is owned by one company, and they're trying to get bigger. And as we all know, when you start actually combining these companies, when you have, a monopoly of sorts, really that's what it would be, a monopoly of information, of telecommunication information. So it goes so far. When you start seeing these kind of things happening, you're not getting more choice, you're not getting more freedom, you're not getting better customer service, which, by the way, Comcast has some of the worst customer service on record. So many people complain about what they do, how they treat their customers, and it's going to get worse. And not to mention, Comcast also just tried to throw a big party for an FCC member, the chairman of the FCC, which, by the way, they decided not to. And they said it had nothing to do with it because it was inappropriate or anything. It was all because they just changed their mind. But they were throwing this big party for this chairman who's supposed to be deciding whether or not they can have this merger with Time Warner. Does anyone see anything wrong with that? Am I the only one that thinks that that's wrong? That's, that there is corruption in that? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Anyway, we're moving on today, guys. If you want to join the conversation today, give me a call. The number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, that is 619-924-0986. Or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. And anyway, at this point, we're going to cut to our first commercial break, and we will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
We're back, everyone. I appreciate y'all sticking with us. So we're going to enter into the next segment here in a moment. It's a segment that we like to call the Mack Pack, and it's where I give you my take on outrageous events in the news. So if you would like to join today's conversation, the number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, 619-924-0986. Or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. All right, here is the next segment. I'm sorry, I got to get the clip loaded up. Man, I am so disorganized today. Here we go.
It's time for the Mack Attack!
So Big Brother's watching you. You know, that's a phrase that we do not take seriously anymore, right? I mean, it's kind of the conspiracy theorist, motto, slogan. It's what you would imagine somebody who says that's wearing a tinfoil hat, and I can assure you that I do not have one on today. We don't take it seriously, even though we know it's true. We all know that we're being surveilled. We know that we're being watched. We know that the government is listening to our phone calls. We know that the government is spying on us. Edward Snowden's recent revelations have revealed exactly what they're doing. And, of course, the phrase Big Brother is watching you specifically, of course, that came from George Orwell's book, 1984, which he wrote in 1949. 1949. I have to say, first and foremost, that I'm ashamed that I really didn't read that book. I never read that book until recently. And as of right now, I'm actually about halfway through it, and I cannot believe the similarities to what we see today. Orwell envisioned a world where we have absolutely no privacy. He imagined a world where our government can literally peer into our homes and oversee everything that we do. A world where the government spies on its people. He envisioned a world where the government uses impending threats from a constant state of war to control its people, where words are literally removed from the language in order to control thought. A world where even thought can be a crime, where the news is controlled by the government, and it's also retroactively corrected and retracted in order to meet whatever the government chooses, whatever narrative that they want to actually portray. It's a world where the people fear their government more than the government fears the people. And the scary thing is, we are so close to being there right now. We're inching further and further towards that. We got a caller on the line. His name is Sam. He wants to talk a little bit about the surveillance state. Are you there, Sam?
Yeah, yes, I am, Mack. Great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you too. What's on your mind?
I've had a couple questions for a while now about the surveillance state. You know, it's something that I think all conservatives now are really worried with the surveillance state and with the police build-up and whatnot. But my big question, is, we also have this. We're also living in a world post 9/11 where terrorism is a big concern. And one thing that I've always asked people who are leader of the police state and the surveillance state is, how do we keep ourselves safe from terrorists on a national level while still maintaining privacy? I'm open to hearing ideas, because I still think we need to maintain strong national security, but yet we need to also maintain our privacy too. So how would you go about doing that?
And that's a definite concern, and this is the justification for the expanding police state. And as I was talking about before, we're in a perpetual state of war right now. And this is similar to 1984, where they were constantly at war with either Eurasia or East Eurasia, depending on whatever narrative they were going after. It was a perpetual, never-ending state of war that all three countries knew that they had to continue in order to control their population, okay? And without giving any kind of spoilers here as far as the book itself, we are in that war right now. We are in a never-ending state of war. We'll always be at war with terrorism because it's not a country. We can't win it. You can never win the war against terrorism. You'll never kill every terrorist. So the ultimate question is, what is more valuable, okay? Is it your safety and security, or is it your individual liberty? Because, and I know anybody who's listened to this show before has heard me say it hundreds of times probably by now, Ben Franklin's quote, "Those who would sacrifice liberty for security deserve neither and will lose both." And it's absolutely true. And though I understand your concern, and I definitely do think that we need to take steps to secure our borders, to make sure that outside threats don't come into our country. What do we see now? What are we seeing every day now? Now more so, are we focusing on the outside threats coming in, Sam? Do you think that we're securing our border and preventing those outside threats from even coming here, or are we turning this Leviathan onto our own population? What do you think?
I don't even think we're fighting the war on terror anymore. In terms of the Obama administration, we're moving towards the end of the Bush administration. I'm all for covert operations and black ops against Al-Qaeda and other foreign terrorist cells. However, like I said, we're not fighting the war on terror anymore. And what's really disturbing to me is the fact that this government now finds Tea Partiers more threatening than radical Islamic jihadists who have decried America and would be willing to suicide bomb themselves in order to proclaim a jihad. And yet Absolutely. The Tea Party is somehow more threatening. I just don't. It's incomprehensible how we are more of a threat than radical Islam is. That's my big problem with the government now.
I mean, let's just look at the actual culture now. The culture is shifting here in terms of who is terrorist, who could be potential terrorist. There's a game out now by the same people who made Battlefield. I believe it's Battlefield something. I can't remember what it's called now. But the actual terrorists involved in this game are Tea Partiers. And, there's one part in the game where these guys, this force that's going to stop the terrorists, they kick in the door and they see that the guy had in his room a Gadsden flag, the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, and they're saying, "Oh, look what this guy's caught up in," and it's all an attempt to kind of shift people to what the government feels the threat is, and you're absolutely right. The shift is not Islam, or we're not concerned about radical Islam or terrorists or anything. Now the shift has now become the people. The people are now more of a threat to the government because the government recognizes that, it's okay. It's actually a good thing for them to have this threat of terrorism out there, and now we need to focus the enemy on the real people that are a threat to us, our political power, and it's the people. That's why you see gun owners being attacked in the media. That's why you see Tea Parties being attacked in the media. I mean, this is all just the statist growing of the federal Leviathan right now. And I have to point out that in terms of safety, you have a far more of a chance of being killed by a police officer than you do being killed by a terrorist. So we have turned this system against what we had created it for. We initially created all of this to protect us, to keep us safe from these terrorists. Although now we have our borders that are flooding in illegal immigrants. We have who knows who's coming in the areas where we don't have any kind of surveillance or we don't have any people there. And these terrorists, they know. They're working with the cartels. The cartels know where the gaps are, and people are just pouring over and saturating the border here with bodies. Basically, it's a flood of human beings that are coming across, and it's taking away resources to protect us from the bad guys who are actually coming in. And now, now we're seeing this machine. We're being spied on by it. We're seeing the government tell us that Americans are the enemies. Up is down, black is white. Everything is backwards now, and it doesn't make sense, did you have any other comments you wanted to make, Sam?
No. I not really that I can think of. Also, though, I heard you mention earlier that if you're thinking of moving platforms for podcasting, and I'm a podcaster myself, so I'd be willing to contact you and help you out with moving the show or to a different platform, maybe, if you're interested. So
awesome.
That's a comment.
That would be great, man. I would really appreciate that. If you could shoot me an email at talk@OnTheMoveShow, I'll contact you after the show. Okay, man?
All right. Sounds good.
All right, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Good call. All right, so, I want to talk a little bit more about and actually deep dive of what the government is actually doing. What are they doing with this power? What power have they created? Okay, first and foremost, let's actually talk about surveillance. What are they doing? What are they looking at? And why are they looking at all this stuff? Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about what they can do now, what they're looking at, and then we'll talk about why. Why do we think that they're looking at this? Why do they care? What does this matter? First and foremost, the NSA is spying on us. Edward Snowden has released all of the information about what they're doing. They call it data mining, but they're basically just blanket taking everything. They're taking all of the data out there, and they're mining it into these huge data mining centers in Utah, which have the capability of storing every human communication for the next 40 years, something like that. And that's just what they have now that we know about. All right, so they're collecting your emails, your social media. They're checking anything that you do on the computer, electronically, on your phone, anything like that at all, they can track. And I just also, I heard a story not too long ago. There was a guy who killed his roommate, and he was caught because they knew when he was not home. First of all, he asked Siri on his phone. Ask Siri. And Siri is horrible. Siri doesn't actually help you with hardly anything. It just says, "Hey, here's what I found in Google search or Bing search," whatever it does. And anyway, he asked Siri, "How do you hide a dead body, or what's a good place to hide a dead body?" Well, I don't know if any of you knew this, but Siri logs all of that stuff. So they got the logs from Siri, and they found out that he asked this question. Then they looked at his phone, and they could tell that he lied when he said that he was at his home in the time in question. They looked at his phone and could see that he wasn't connected to his Wi-Fi at that time. He had disconnected. And then they could also tell that how many times that he turned on the flashlight application on his phone, which means that he was out in the middle of the swamp looking around for a place to hide this body. All of these things have led to him being captured. And you can say, yeah, that's great. We got a murderer. Woohoo! All right. Well, that may be a legitimate reason and something that they use legitimately for it, but what are they doing with all this information? The ability to see when you're in your house, when you're out of your house, when you're connected to a Wi-Fi that you just so happen to be passing by that you've already connected to at one point and it's stored in your memory. Now they know where you were. You know, all of this stuff, they're tracking. They're tracking everything. And again, it's all data mined, so it's stored. You may not even have anything that you are hiding. You may be totally innocent. You may not care. You may just say, oh, you know what? It doesn't matter. I got nothing to hide, okay? But this stuff is stored for years, decades. Who knows? It could never go away. It could be there forever. It doesn't take much for somebody to make you look like you have done something wrong if they have enough evidence against you. If they take just a pile of stuff, of communications that you've done your entire life, everything that you say can be taken out of context. Everything that you've ever done can be used against you. Are you kidding me? This is why lawyers tell you if you are suspected of a crime, do not talk about your crime. Don't talk about it. Don't talk to the media. Don't say anything to anyone, because anything you say and do can and will be used against you in the court of law. And it's very easy for things to be taken out of context. It doesn't take much. Even rookie attorneys can make somebody look guilty from the most innocent slip of the mind. You may have forgotten that you said something. You may have forgotten that you did something, and now you look like a liar because you forgot. You know that this happens. So, as far as everything on our phones, and let's talk about Big Brother again here in the book. Okay, in 1984, they had telescreens in which you couldn't turn off. These telescreens were basically televisions, but they also had the ability to hear everything that was going on in your room and to see everything that's going on in your room. You couldn't turn it off if you wanted to. Now, we have that. We literally have that right now, except we still have the ability right now to turn it off. And it's a phone. A phone. Right now, we are carrying around a listening device everywhere we go. This phone, even when you turn it off, even when you power it down, it can still be used as a listening device. They can still turn on your camera and literally see everything that's going on. Not just hear it, they can see it. They can see inside the privacy of your home. And they're doing this without warrants. They don't need a warrant. It's bulk data collection. And, we're told that they're not doing this and that we should trust the government. Okay, I don't really trust anybody that has this kind of power, because when you start giving power and more power to somebody, especially the government, they say, oh, we need more. We still can't protect you enough because you haven't given us enough power. We need more power. Eventually, you get to the point where you have given them all the power you can give, and you have no freedom or privacy or power left. They no longer need your input. You should be happy with what they give you. This is what happens. This is why governments turn tyrannical. And this is where we are right now, ladies and gentlemen. We are close. We are at the verge. We're at a constitutional tipping point right now. I'm concerned. We also see that they can just turn on your webcam and just watch what's going on. I mean, through your phone, your webcam, they can see into every aspect of your house. They can see into your neighbor's house. And another scary thing that they have as far as spying is now there are appliances that are connected to Wi-Fi. Those appliances can then be tapped into. And it's been reported that appliances such as dishwashers and Xboxes that do have wireless Wi-Fi, all right, that Wi-Fi signal can be sent out as a burst, and it's basically a radar. So they can see everything. A sonar. They can see everything that's going on in your house through walls with your Wi-Fi. You got a router? They can access that and use it to see inside your house. You got an Xbox, a dishwasher that's connected to Wi-Fi, a washing machine, something like that. They can use that against you. Now, I'm not saying that they necessarily are, but they can. They have the ability. And do we really think that because they have the ability, they won't use it? Absolutely not. I don't trust any government that has the ability to do something not to do that something. Right now, we see the National Defense Authorization Act has authorized them to disappear American citizens. Just disappear them. They're gone. That's very similar to 1984 as well. They called it vaporizing these people, and they didn't exist anymore. Well, now all that it takes for the government to do this to you today is for you to be a suspected terrorist. Suspected. What is a suspected terrorist? What exactly does that mean? That means that somebody says, I think that guy is a terrorist. It doesn't even need any evidence. You don't need evidence to say, I think that guy's a terrorist. So it's one of those things that is very concerning to me. I'm very concerned at the fact that anybody could be labeled a terrorist, and then just suddenly, middle of the night, a SWAT team kicks in your door and puts a black bag over your head, and you're gone, and you're in some prison, and you no longer have the Constitution to protect you because, you're a suspected terrorist, and it doesn't apply to you. You don't have rights anymore. So what if this starts happening to Tea Party members? What if this starts happening to gun owners or people like myself who are broadcasting and talking about these kind of things? I know this sounds paranoid. Believe me, I know it sounds paranoid, but I find it a little silly to think that a government that can do this kind of thing would never do this kind of thing. I find it a little naive if somebody doesn't believe that this would ever happen. So let's talk about the kind of tracking that they're doing. Right now, they're trying to track cars. This is a new federal program that they want to implement where they track your cars. According to an article on Infowars.com, the federal government is working on a plan that would mandate black box tracking devices to be installed in every vehicle with real-time uploading of vehicle location, speed, and mileage to government authorities. Well, let's talk about what we already have. I mean, they have this already. You're carrying around your phone everywhere you go. They can turn on your GPS and they can track you and they can see everything you're doing through your camera and listen through your microphone. They have the ability to do this. So now they want more data. And with this data, they can actually use it. They can actually use this data. And it's okay to do this, according to them, because this kind of information would require a warrant, right? If somebody wanted to track you and find this information out and turn us on, this would all require a warrant. But not if they're doing it bulk, apparently. Apparently, if you do it to everyone, it's okay. Apparently, we're supposed to feel safe because we're in a group of people that is so large, we're the needle in the haystack. It's unlikely that they'll ever look at us. Are you kidding me? This is 1984. Again, I keep bringing it back to this book, but we are there right now. If they are listening or have the ability to listen to every phone call we make, we're not safe anywhere. And we all carry around these cell phones everywhere we go. In fact, if you leave the house, you're like, oh, crap, I got to go back. I got to pick up my cell phone. I feel naked without it. People don't like to leave the house even without this thing. So we voluntarily carry around this spying device everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. Back to the article. This Orwellian technology that they want to put inside the vehicles is already technically feasible and will be promoted as a way to increase highway safety while boosting government revenues from mileage taxation. The devices, which track every mile a motorist drives and transmit that information to bureaucrats, are at the center of the controversial attempt in Washington and state planning offices to overhaul the outdated system for funding. Lost my place here. Funding America's major roads, reports the LA Times. Congress is exploring how, over the next decade, they can move to a system in which drivers pay per mile of road they roll over. Thousands of motorists have already taken the black boxes, some of which have GPS monitoring for a test drive. The USA is already an admitted surveillance state. As leaked documents from Edward Snowden have revealed, the NSA openly spies on all your phone calls, text chats, web surfing behavior, bank account activity, and more. Now the government wants to add real-time tracking of your vehicle location, and they'll add this to the long list of surveillance targets that they already have. This would, of course, allow the government to track and map all your driving trips, know when you are home or away from home, know where you work, establish patterns of your activities such as when you pick up the kids from school or go grocery shopping. They will also know if you attend political rallies, activist meetings, gun ranges, or other destinations the government might characterize as being linked to domestic terrorism. Think about that. They're building a dossier on everyone, and they don't have to look at you specifically. Let me explain. When I say they don't have to look at you specifically to think of you as a threat, understand that this is all computerized, all right? They have complex algorithms that can detect these kind of things, and if they have a pattern that they have already set up in these algorithms that could be considered terroristic activity, then all you have to do is to hit one of these things in order to be more highly scrutinized. So, and again, what if a terrorist attended a political rally that you just so happened to be at? You just so happened to go to a Tea Party rally, and then the guy standing next to you, he was a terrorist, or he committed some kind of domestic terrorism. He went out and shot somebody. You know, this actually happened to Clive and Bundy. Let's point this out. The Clive and Bundy Ranch, there were these individuals that came there, and they were disruptive, and they were provocateurs, and they were kicked out and removed from the ranch. Later, they went up and shot up a Walmart. Now, the way the government can look at it is that everyone that attended that, supported Clive and Bundy, talked about it, had any kind of relation whatsoever, people that were standing next to these guys, anybody anywhere near these people over the last few days can fall under suspicion of being terrorists. And think about it, all it takes for the government to disappear you is the mere suspicion that you've committed some kind of act of terrorism. Just suspicion. That's it. So to think about everything I've talked about being used against you when you had nothing to hide. You weren't trying to do anything illegal. You were just going about your business. And maybe you attended an activist meeting, or you went to a gun range at the same time that these people that shot up a Walmart went to. Now suddenly you're a suspect? You're suspected of being a terrorist? I mean, this is unbelievable. Anyway, back to the article. The government could then use this information to target you for punitive tax audits, surprise armed raids, government shakedowns, or other nefarious schemes that have now been revealed as routine extortion activities carried out by a criminal government. All right, so I know, InfoWars is not necessarily the number one place I go to get news, but I do think this is a very telling article, and the information in it is verifiable. It's all out there. Look it up yourself. Anyway, another thing I want to talk about, vehicle tracking, and it seems like that they have redundancies for these things. So obviously, vehicle tracking tracks you. That tracks everything, okay? So tracking your vehicle tracks where you've been, where you're going, all of your schedules. Tracking you on the phone through your GPS does the same thing. But they also have license plate scanners. So why do they need so many things that can track the same things? And in my opinion, I think it's because it's an onslaught, okay? Eventually, at some point, they're going to get these things through to where they can use them whenever, however they want them, at any point. They have so many different ways that they can pull out of this data mining stuff, the things that they're collecting about me and you. They have so many options to choose from. They can pull one out, and one of them will be able to be used in court. And if it's things that they're trying to get pushed through, the more things that they can get pushed through, it's very likely some of these things won't get pushed through. Like, for example, the car tracking. That may get denied. People may not want to do that. And it's all for the excuse of taxes or for highway safety. Honestly, I think that we pay enough taxes. That's just me. We pay a lot in taxes. And I know I'm kind of going off in the weeds. I'm going to get back to the license plate scanners here. So as far as these license plate scanners, they track everywhere that you go. So every intersection that you've crossed, where there's a camera with a scanner on it, every police vehicle that has one of these scanners on it that can track your license plate, they can know where you are going, what time of day they were seeing you. They can create patterns. Again, this is all the same thing. So it's very repetitious, I know, but these are all the systems that they're doing. And let's talk about the cameras. You can't go anywhere today without being on camera. I mean, every store has it, and some of those are hooked up to the internet, and of course the NSA can access those if they want. Obviously, we got satellites that are peering down on us at every second of the day. You know, they can literally see everything, every part of the earth. Right now, they're looking down on, and I mean, I'm sure any of you have seen Enemy of the State. They've had that technology forever. It's been so long, and the cameras have gotten better. They've gotten the ability to see things more crisp and more clear. They can interconnect everything. Not to mention, police officers are now carrying cameras in some cities on their person, which may or may not be a good thing. Who knows? I mean, it's been proven that, you know, the level of force has reduced when we see police officers that are being recorded by themselves. And also, obviously, the use of cell phones nowadays to record police officers reduces the amount of violence that's being used against the population. So cameras are everywhere. I mean, they're at red lights, they're on businesses, they're in government buildings, they're just in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. You can't go anywhere without being on camera nowadays. So why? Why do they want all this information? Why do they want all this access? Why do they need it all? If it's really about safety, all right, if it's really about security, if it's really about all these things, then why do we not care about what's going on down at the border? How difficult is it to install cameras everywhere on the border? How difficult is it to have motion detectors down there? How difficult is it to prevent people from coming in? I mean, Israel does it, has built a wall. Israel has built fences. They got razor wire. They got demarcation zones. They got entrapment areas that they allow people in and out. It's been said that a country that cannot secure its border cannot secure its destiny. And I totally agree with that right now. We see that this surveillance state is not for our enemies. It's for us. It's to control the population. It's to control dissent, to control you and me, to control every aspect. And it's very, very slow. It's a slow process to get people comfortable with this kind of thing. And let's just talk about some of the slow changes here, okay? As far as being recorded everywhere, all right? This is something that many of you, if you were my generation or older, this is something that you probably didn't think about very much at all, growing up. It wasn't something that happened. I mean, even in my youth, there weren't cameras everywhere. But suddenly, all of a sudden, it just popped up, and, slowly, people are getting comfortable and used to what's already there. But think about this generation, all right? This generation that's born now, the kids nowadays, haven't known anything different. They have never known anything different. So as they get older and it starts to slide further and further, more surveillance, bigger government, more surveillance state, some of these kids don't even know a time when we were not at war with terrorism. Some of these kids literally cannot even remember 9/11 or a world before 9/11. They have no idea what it was like before. I mean, many of you can remember a time, I know I can, when you could walk right up to the gate of the airport and say goodbye to your loved ones right there at the gate. You didn't have to worry about the security stopping you way behind there. You could go in and say goodbye to your loved one, hug them, spend the last few moments that you possibly could with them before they had to board their plane. Kids nowadays, they will never know that time. They won't understand that time. And, that's just one small example that I can give you hundreds of, but I won't. Anyway, when we get back, we're going to talk more specifically about the police and what they're doing right now. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
And we're back. I appreciate y'all sticking with us. If you want to join the conversation today, the number of the show is 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986. Or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com and give us your take on everything. So, you know, we're talking about right now, we've been talking about the police state, the surveillance state, everything that's going on right now in the world. You know, we've had a lot of discussion here about what they're actually doing, you know, what capabilities they have, why they are listening, you know, what kind of information that they're looking for. And then we've also discussed, you know, why we think, or I think, you know, what they want to use this information for. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Again, feel free to give us a call. I want to move on a little bit here and actually talk about the police, okay? And first and foremost, I want to talk about Ferguson. So Ferguson, Missouri, I'm sure you all are aware that, I mean, it was erupting in violence. The city was on fire. You know, we had riots in the streets, and of course that's deplorable. We have these opportunistic people who are really just the scum of the earth as far as I'm concerned. They're destroying their own communities for no good reason. I mean, they're upset because the police supposedly shot this kid. Okay, unarmed kid sitting, you know, on his knees, and he had his hands up. Apparently, got shot point blank in the head. Apparently, that was what the narrative was. Okay, and of course, all of this is happening before the facts come out. You know, all of this is not something that people actually know happened. The facts are still not out, yet the city's on fire. And we find out now that that's not actually what happened. Apparently, this kid, he was supposedly shot point blank in the back. That's what it was, on his knees, okay? So that was the narrative. That's what we were told, all right? But then we find out this guy was involved in a strong-arm robbery 10 minutes before this happened, and he was apparently shot in the front as he was charging toward the police officer, okay? And this is also after he had already punched the police officer several times through the police's the window of his door there, and crushed in the eye socket of the officer involved. So he shot the officer after he got out of the car. This guy was walking away, and he turns around and charges back at the officer, and the officer's afraid for his life, and he shoots the individual 6 times. Well, 6 times because he kept missing. He shot the guy in the arms, in the legs, shoulder, things like that. And then eventually he got a center mass shot and took him down. Now, again, not all the facts are still in. I don't know if this officer was justified, but this is another side of the story that's being told now. Now we have the information, okay? So with this said, you know, the conversation needs to shift, all right? Let's not talk right now about what happened to that guy. Let's talk about the reaction. Okay, and we're going to get back to the police state stuff. I know we're in the weeds a little bit here, but you know I want to talk about this. I feel it's important. So the people who are supposedly outraged at somebody getting killed by the police for no good reason go out and hurt people, loot stores, set businesses on fire, throw rocks at the police, throw rocks at the media. All of these things happen, and they don't even have all the information. They don't have the information. They don't even know why they're doing it. The fact is that these people are opportunists, and they're out there basically targeting members of their own community for no good reason. And now, I am not saying that protest is not a good thing. I think that everybody has the right to protest, and you have the right to say your piece and peaceably assemble. But you don't have the right to throw a rock at a police officer who is not attacking you or assaulting you or doing anything to threaten your life in any way. You don't have the right to just instigate violence on somebody else. Yet these rioters are doing it. There's a major difference between rioters and protesters, and let's make that point clear right now. Rioters are not protesters, and protesters always rioters. So let's be clear about that. So in terms of Ferguson, what I find disturbing, and we're back onto the Big Brother topic here. Ferguson, we saw where the police officers were actively trying to suppress the media. They were shooting tear gas at the media, telling them to turn the cameras off, harassing our media. We got journalists who were arrested simply for filming a public officer, which, by the way, you have every right to film a public officer, a police officer, in performance of official duties. Not to mention, if somebody's in public, you have every right to record them, because in public you have no expectation of privacy. That's Supreme Court right there. That's a Supreme Court hearing. Look it up if you don't believe me. But anyway, this is the kind of police force, and I don't mean police forces in the unit, the people there. I mean as in use of force that we see now being used. They're suppressing the media. With all of this stuff, if we start to allow them to suppress the media is really the one major thing that as a population we can use to control our government. So if they start controlling the media, they start limiting what we can do, what we can show, what we can record, this stuff is very invasive. It's very pervasive. It just spreads. As people become used to this, it becomes something that it's just an everyday thing. The government can shut down the media. This is what we need to be outraged about. The police have absolutely no right to shoot tear gas at peaceful journalists, even if they are from Al Jazeera network. I don't like those guys, but hey, they got every right to record just as much as I do or you do. And by the way, you don't have to be a member of some big conglomerate news corporation to record. You could be a citizen journalist like myself or many others out there. You can go record and get the truth, document the truth, and you're still a journalist as long as you're attempting to report the news. Let's look historically at what a journalist was, okay? What were our origination of newspapers? What was the past? I mean, was it big corporations that were producing newspapers initially? No. It was small groups of people who just decided to create a newspaper, and they would produce it and manufacture it and distribute it all themselves. They were citizen journalists, and that is what the First Amendment protects: people being able to report the news. It doesn't only extend to these big conglomerate corporations like NBC, CBS, all these other things, most of which are owned by just a handful of companies. That's not media. That's not protection of free speech. That is not freedom of press. That's the corporatization of the press. And I have no problem with people incorporating and making money off of news. That's not my problem. I don't care. You have every right to do that and go for it. But to say that only these people get protection, to say that only these people are considered journalists just because you have a $50,000 camera and now suddenly you're a journalist? No. We live in an interesting time. And I've said this before, but we live in a very interesting time. Right now, we are at an age when we don't need corporate money to be journalists. We don't need to have, big networks set up and have distribution centers and systems and have all this stuff. I mean, if you want to make a movie, you can do it on a very low budget nowadays. If you want to actually, be able to create a podcast, for example. You know, this doesn't take much money to run. It doesn't take a whole lot of overhead. Not a whole lot of overhead to run this show. I'll tell you that right now. You know, to make things bigger, to get different things, you know, that takes a little bit more. But still, it's nowhere near the kind of corporate money that you see from, you know, MSNBC or things like that have, you know, live broadcasting all the time. And we live in an age when we don't need this in order to basically have most of the same things that those networks have. So obviously, you know, our founders didn't have that to begin with. We don't need it anymore. Obviously, the kind of protection that is extended to our media and our press through the First Amendment, obviously it applies to citizen journalists and broadcasters, bloggers, anybody who's doing something independent. Obviously, your speech is protected. So apparently the Ferguson police don't agree with that, though, and they're shutting down, you know, free speech and the, you know, freedom of the press out at Ferguson, or at least they were. So another thing I want to talk about here is checkpoints. All right, checkpoints. Everywhere you go, it seems like there's a checkpoint. You know, we're hearing more and more of these DUI checkpoints, where the whole reason why it was there in the first place, the whole reason why it's supposed to be there is to protect us from, you know, the DUIs out there, when actually statistics prove that, you know, it really doesn't reduce any DUIs or anything like that, but it's really, what it really is a way of discovery. The police now have the ability to stop you, harass you, look into your car, you know, have you roll down your window, see if they can smell any kind of alcohol or illegal drugs in your car. They have a dog smell around your car to see if it hits off on anything, you know, which, by the way, those can be cued. Or, I mean, even still, even if the dog didn't do anything specifically, the officer could just say, yeah, my dog, you know, says that there's something in your car. You know, it did what I'm supposed to know. It was in the car. You don't have any training on what that dog is supposed to cue on, or how it cues on to some kind of illicit drug or bomb or something like that. You and I, we don't know what the dog is supposed to do. And in most cases, you'd be sitting in the car or separated from your car as they're doing the search, and you won't even see it. So think about this. By the way, a dog barking or sitting or whatever the cue is, whatever they do when the dog says that there's drugs in the car, that's considered probable cause to search your car. That's all they need. They only need a dog to say that there's drugs in the car to search your car. That's it. And again, that can be faked. Somebody can say that it did and it never happened. You know, anything could happen. So now they can just conduct an illegal search of your car at any point. And worst about these checkpoints, the worst thing is these no refusal DUI checkpoints, where if you don't take a breathalyzer, you have no choice but to submit to them drawing your blood. They're drawing your blood. You've committed no crime. They have no reasonable suspicion that you've committed a crime, but yet they are sticking needles into your body without your permission or consent, and there's nothing you can do about it. Personally, it's against my religion to have government agents stick needles in my body. That's just my personal religious preference. You know, I don't want the government in my body. That's just me. So, you know, I have a freedom of religion as far as I know. What if somebody does not have, like, you know, any? What if they don't want the government to be involved, you know, in their car? What if you have something deeply personal or private or embarrassing? You know, now the government can see what's in your car. These police can see these kind of things. Now, what if you get arrested for something silly? Or, I mean, this could go so many different hypothetical scenarios that really, you know, I probably should get away from, because I know I'm going off into the weeds right now. Anyway, so, you know, the checkpoints are probably the most concerning thing for me right now. We are allowing this to become normal. This is being normalized. Oh, you know, the government can just stop you and demand your papers and you know, check to see if you have anything at all that they can arrest you for. And it's a revenue source for them, first and foremost, because it has absolutely nothing to do with safety. They could give a crap about your safety. And I just have to point out that the Supreme Court has ruled that they have no duty to protect you. No duty, okay? you can't sue the police for not protecting you, and they have absolutely no duty to protect you. And that's not me saying that. Again, that's a verdict from the United States Supreme Court, because they recognize that if the police fail to protect the public, then the public shouldn't be allowed to sue them, because that would cost a lot of money, because there's a lot of cases where the police fail to protect the people, which is why it's so important that we have the right to keep and bear arms. I mean, everything is so interconnected here, guys. It's just crazy. So anyway, we got them police officers, when they stop you on the streets, they could search your phones. They were searching your phones, and the police said that it was no different than asking you to turn out your pockets. Really? No different than asking somebody to turn out your pockets. Well, all right, what do you got in your pockets right now? All right? If you're like me, maybe you got a cell phone, maybe you got a pocket knife, you got your wallet. Okay, I got some credit cards in there, maybe a few notes or whatever I took or something, some money, some change. I don't got a whole lot in that thing, But to ask somebody for their phone, to look into their phone, to search their phone, and they're not asking, they're just doing it. They just search your phone. To say that is similar or the same thing as turning out your pockets is outrageous. My phone has personal communication between me and my friends. It's got my call log. You can see who I called, when I called them, videos, pictures, websites I visited, and my history, things like that. I mean, it is outrageous to think that kind of violation into your privacy is the same thing as asking somebody to turn out their pockets. That's ridiculous. And apparently, I am being agreed with by the United States Supreme Court. They ruled that this is illegal, that it's illegal for the police to search your phones without a warrant. It's illegal for them, and that it does not equate to turning out your pockets. In fact, they said if you want to search somebody's phone, get a warrant. Get a warrant. Why isn't this something that has already been said? Why didn't the police already think? These people are sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution. Apparently, they forgot about the part that says the Fourth Amendment, you have the right against unlawful search and seizure. In order for somebody to actually search you, for the government to search you, they need to have a warrant that has to say exactly where is to be searched and what items are to be seized. And without it, they can't search it. They have no reasonable suspicion or probable cause. They just search your phone. Okay, whatever. But let me just point out here that when something is found unconstitutional, it doesn't mean that from this point on it's unconstitutional. It means that it was always unconstitutional. Always. So that means that every single time that they have ever done this has been a violation of the Constitution. But yet, do we see any kind of criminal charges now retroactively against the police officers? I have not heard about one stinking civil lawsuit about this from something that happened before this. If you guys heard about anything, please send me an email on it, talk it on the Move Show. I'm dying to see something like that, but I haven't found anything. So we see that the police, not only are they doing this in searches, but think about this, okay? Every time that you have an interaction with the police, even if you were just a witness, even if you were just walking by something that happened, or if they just came up and started talking to you, or you got, it's a million other reasons why you could have spoken to a police officer. What did they do? What was the very first thing that they did? Well, I can tell you for me, they will demand your papers. They will tell you, hey, you got an ID on you? Can I see it? Oh, hey, would you mind if I take a look at your ID? Blah, 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 blah. First and foremost, let me just say, you do not have to identify yourself. Unless you are being detained, they have reasonable suspicion that you've committed a crime. They have probable cause that you've committed a crime, in which case they will detain you, in which case then you probably, depending on the state law, I think some state laws are different, but after which point, in most cases, if you're detained, you should provide your identification because you're being detained. And the only reason why they're able to detain you is if they have probable cause or reasonable suspicion. So at least they're supposed to. If they don't, then that's an unlawful detainment, but I digress. The act of demanding your papers with every interaction, I think it says a lot. I think the whole concept of every time that they talk to you, they get your information, they write it down, they're going to put it in their blotter. Again, this information is tracked. Again, this information is logged. And again, it can be used against you down the line. So let's say you happen to be in a car with somebody who was, who had a warrant out for their arrest or something, and they got arrested, and you were there in the car, and now your name is in a blotter because you gave the identification. So now you're associated with that. Who knows how that could be used against you down the line? Maybe this guy does something. Maybe this guy is down the line, he's a violent criminal or already a violent criminal, and now this information is being used against you because you are now associated with violent criminals. Maybe you didn't even know who this guy was. Maybe he was just giving you a ride somewhere. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that can be used. Excuse me. But this is the kind of stuff that can be used against you. And again, as I've been saying, it's all around us. Everything that we do is being logged, tracked, data mined, compiled into a database. Algorithms are searching through it to find patterns that are already predetermined for people who are troublemakers or problems or suspected terrorists or things like that. I mean, all of this stuff is happening every day, and it's just getting more and more. Where will it be in 10 years? Where will it be in 20 years? As far as police interactions as well go, I'm seeing a disturbing trend. It's happening more and more from everything that I'm seeing. Police officers are telling people to turn off cameras. I spoke about it before as far as in terms of media, but also just police interactions. As many of you know, I'm in the process of a court battle, and in my interaction with the police officers, one of the very first things they did was demand my papers. That was one of the very first things. But before they did that, they told me to turn off my camera. Twice. I said no the first time, and they said, no, just turn it off. And I was like, no, thanks. I'm not going to do that. So this is the exact thing I'm talking about. They don't want people to see what they're doing. They don't want to be held accountable, which is exactly why the officers in California who are now wearing the cameras on their body, suddenly the use of force they're using has decreased significantly. Suddenly interactions with citizens are now more positive than negative, it seems like. So we have statistics here backing it up. Police do not want to be held accountable, and when they are, their behavior changes. So we also see police officers lying about laws. They can tell you, oh, it's illegal to record me. They can tell you that. They can legally lie to you about the law. The law, in some cases, many of these people aren't even lying to you. Some of these cases, they literally don't know the law. They just assume that it's illegal to record them. They assume that it's illegal to record them. They don't know the law. I have to really pound that point in here. They don't know the law. They are sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution and enforce these laws. They don't know the laws. How can you enforce a law that you don't know? Why would you enforce a law if you don't know that it's a law? If you can't reference the ordinance or the law or the city code or something like that, if you can't reference it, why are you trying to enforce it? In most of these cases, these police officers will try to threaten and coerce these individuals, saying that it's against the law to record me. If you continue to record me, I'm going to arrest you. And these people will submit that, I don't want to be arrested, so I'll turn my camera off. It's scary. Who wants to be arrested? I know I didn't. So this is what we see. This is what we are dealing with. And let's talk a moment about speeding tickets, okay? Speeding tickets in general, in my opinion, is just a tax. We all just kind of understand that, it's the price we pay to work. If you're going, right now there's areas in my area on the highway that are like 60 miles per hour. And then a few miles down the road, it's 70 miles per hour. So if you're going 60 in that 60 mile per hour zone, it's like a 10-mile stretch. You see cars flying all around you on either side going 75, all right? And if you don't go 70, 75, people are like riding your butt, especially if you're in the left lane, if you're trying to pass somebody, or if for some reason you're over there and you don't want to be over there. It's really difficult to go 60 when you have a car or several cars riding your butt, okay? So you're just trying to go with the speed of traffic or whatever, and it's kind of the price. Everybody understands, okay, it's the price we pay to drive. But really, is it making people safer? Is speeding tickets, is the police force on the highway, traffic stops, things along those lines, are they really making people safer? I would argue that they are another form of discovery, a way of peering into your life, pulling you over. In my opinion, they're modern day pirates. You know, they're pulling you over and stealing from you. You know, this is what it is, and it's because it's a revenue source. They want to take your money, and in fact, a lot of these times they can come up with some excuse. Oh, your headlight's out, or this is out, or you know, your registration is expired, or you know, you don't have a driver's license. God forbid you don't have a driver's license. Oh man, you may go to jail. So this is all part of it. You know, it's all part of the revenue system. Each one of us are supposed to be providing revenue towards the government. And this is just one more of those taxes. And they're using law enforcement to enforce this, police officers to enforce it. They are the arm of revenue for the government. They are a big revenue maker. And we see this when they start going after victimless crimes like, you know, the war on drugs right now, where they're kicking in doors and running tanks through walls for somebody who had a little marijuana plant growing. It's marijuana, first of all, and it's a plant. All right, especially if, for example, some of these situations, these people have medical marijuana cards and they're allowed to grow the plant, but now the DEA, the federal government, it's federally illegal to have this, so they're going to kick in your door and do these no-knock searches, and I mean, this stuff is crazy. It is literally getting nuts, and man, it seems like I've just been talking about this for so long, and it's not even close to being done. I mean, there's so much more going on, and we've only just touched on the surveillance in the police right now. We still got a lot more to go, a lot more to cover, and when we get back, we're going to talk more about how they're trying to control our speech, because there's an attempt right now to actually limit what we can say, how we can say it, and it goes on from there. So anyway, we'll be right back after these messages. Do not go anywhere. You do not want to miss this.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
All right, when we're back here, I appreciate y'all sticking with us. All right, so it's been a very productive show here. We've covered a lot of topics, but we have many more that we're going to address here in the next 41 minutes. If you would like to join the conversation, we've got plenty of room for you here. The number of the show is 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986. Again, I challenge you guys to call in. So if you're listening, please join the conversation. I'm definitely excited to talk with you guys about this. So when we last were talking about the police, what they're doing, how they're infiltrating our lives, and using their force to basically discover what we're doing. We're looking at the surveillance state as well, how they're spying on us and collecting our information and trying to use that against us. So I want to talk about how they're also trying to control speech. They're doing this through many different ways, first and foremost, but let's talk about the most obvious, first of all. Let's talk about word bans. The topic we talked about was how there's a campaign now that says we shouldn't use the word bossy because it makes women feel bad. It makes women feel like, that they're being targeted, and it's just mean. Don't call people bossy. That's a bad word. And now we're also hearing that the words illegal immigrant is something that we're not supposed to say, as well as Redskins, as far as the team, the Washington Redskins, the football team. We're not supposed to say words. Let me just ask you guys, does it matter? Do words matter? I would argue yes, they definitely matter. Language matters. And in terms of 1984, let's talk about language for a moment. In 1984, the book, there was a language that was being developed by the government, and it was referred to as newspeak. And it was a way of controlling thought, really, through speech, because they would eliminate certain words in order to make it impossible for you to actually be able to formulate a thought that they didn't want you to have. They would eliminate the actual word in newspeak. It's very scary to think that we are actually trying to eliminate words. We're trying to make certain words non-existent now. It's very, very similar to that. And this is all brought to you by political correctness, which, by the way, political correctness was used by communists to control speech, to control the population, to control thought. I think the most outrageous form of controlling speech that I've seen, the most egregious, and in my opinion, ridiculous, and really, there's no excuse for it, honestly, and we'll get into that in a second. I'm talking about how church leaders cannot talk about politics without fear of losing their tax-exempt status, their 501c3 status. Political leaders are afraid to speak out because the government may take away their tax-exempt status. They don't want to talk about issues that pertain to their religion. They don't want to talk about, candidates that they would endorse because they support their religious beliefs or they support their freedom of religion, but yet they're not allowed to talk about that. They can't talk about that without fear of the government coming in and taking away their tax-exempt status. Well, let me just say, first and foremost, if you are a pastor, if you're a rabbi, if you're a church leader, some kind of religious leader, and you are afraid of speaking because of the government, and you do not speak because of your tax-exempt status, you want to keep that tax-exempt status, you're despicable. Honestly, you are despicable. You are part of the problem. And I know your justification, and I'm actually talking to religious leaders right now. I'm talking to you. I know your justification. I can do more good with this tax-exempt status than I could without. I can have a food pantry. I can do more for my community. I can do that. Let's talk a moment about principles. All right? Religion, there are some principles involved there, okay? So, for example, the abortion debate, okay? If you are a pro-life, supporter, and it's because of your religious beliefs, and you can't speak out to support a person who is pro-life as well because you're afraid that the government will take away your tax-exempt status, do you really think that that's a good justification? Honestly, do you think that when you meet your maker, the day that you go up and, you're being judged, do you think that will be a good enough excuse for you not to say something? Honestly, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, he once said, not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. The world will not hold us blameless, or the Lord will not hold us blameless. I'm paraphrasing. I kind of messed it up a little bit there, but you get the idea. Not to do something is in fact doing something, to be complicit with it. So if you're standing up against something that your religion actually supports or is against, and you are afraid to speak about it, then you are part of the problem. You are complicit. Your silence is complicity. And you know, there was another story I heard a while back. I can't remember who it was, and I'm sure some of you may know. But there was an individual. He was a church leader, and he was protesting, and he was rounded up, and he was put into jail for protesting. And then another religious leader who routinely came into the prison to actually, you know, partake or to actually to help out and preach to these convicts, these people in the jail system. You know, the other religious leader saw his friend, this religious leader that was in jail. All right, he saw him in jail, and he says, "What are you doing in jail?" And the one in jail said, "What are you doing out there?" You know, this right here is a perfect illustration. The fact that these church leaders are too afraid to actually speak out against what they believe in because of a governmental tax? A tax. I mean, really, you will not be held blameless. You are part of the problem. To be complicit is a problem. That's just my opinion. You know, we've also got other controlling speech, other areas where the government is controlling speech, and we see free speech zones. Free speech zones. Correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, but I thought all of America was a free speech zone. I thought that we had the freedom of speech, right? That's in the Constitution, First Amendment, freedom of speech. You know, no laws that can abridge that freedom, right? Well, apparently not. I mean, apparently now the government can just round you up, put you in a little free speech area. Let's say you wanted to protest against, Obama, for example. Let's say you went out to an event that Obama was talking at, and you wanted to protest against him. Well, they're going to round you up. They're going to take you down a mile, and they're going to put you in this little circled area with fences and stuff like that, and make sure that you have the right to speak as much as you want, but just over here. Not where anyone can see you or where you can be effective or your message can get out. No. We're going to round you up, and we're going to put you over here so you're out of the way. You're not a danger. You're not a threat. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we had the ability, the right, not just in the Constitution, but a human right to peacefully assemble. And as long as we're on public property and we're at an area that is accessible to the public, it's not, private property and they don't want you there, you have the right to be there. You have the right to say what's on your mind, but apparently now you don't. And the craziest part is that now it's a felony if you don't go where the government rounds you up, when the Secret Service comes and rounds you up, and if you're trying to practice civil disobedience, you can be arrested for a felony for speaking your mind, for using your free speech, for peacefully assembling, and if you're a citizen journalist, for recording the event and documenting the truth. All of these are protected underneath the First Amendment, but yet it doesn't matter. It's gone. And it's something we're getting used to. Again, it's pervasive. Everything that I'm saying is pervasive. You get used to it. So we have a caller here on the line. His name is Christian. We're going to take this call real fast. Hey, Christian, you there?
Hey, Mac.
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. I've been actually studying about what you're talking about, standing on what we believe. And I actually heard Rick Green and David Barton talking about this, especially when we have churches that are quiet about Christians being crucified, and the churches are not speaking about it at all. And actually, if you look into the Bible, and I was trying to find the Bible before I called, but I couldn't find it. But the actual Bible speaks about if you don't stand against the bad, then you are as bad as those persons committing the bad. And it's really interesting to see now that you have churches that are absolutely ignoring the causes because they don't want to be, like you said, they don't want to lose their status. And that's why, as you know, I was like you in the military, and I feel now that my calling is to be that one person to go, and I started doing my ministry degree. People think that we're going through all this stuff that is brand new, that has not happened before. But if you look in the Bible, it has happened before plenty of time. It's just how society works. And now, just like it happened in Sodom, it happened for the Israel, and people need to understand that this is nothing new, and we need to stand up. And literally, all churches, they have to have, and the problem having also the churches is that when they have people like me, they have that fire to to wake up the church and you're supposed to be the leaders of society, then they kind of outcast you and they pull you away because you're too of a activist for them. And I was like, if you think about it, wasn't Jesus like an activist? He literally went against all the law that Moses wrote.
Well, Christian,
so,
let's talk about activism in terms of ministry, because correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't ministry, you're going out and you're talking to people and you're trying to convince people and convey an ideal and basically, try to convince people of what you're saying. And isn't that the same thing as what activism actually is as well? Isn't that the definition of activism?
Yeah, it is.
So I can't understand a church leader who would say that you're too much of an activist. The fact is, especially when it comes to religion. Religion is an ideology, and it's so much a part of every aspect of how you live your life. Obviously, it's something that can go into every aspect of your society. And in terms of gay marriage, abortion, things like that. Why would you not, if your religion doesn't agree with those things, why would you not be allowed to, as a church leader or religious leader, be allowed to give your point of view, even if I disagree with it, even if lots of people disagree with it, it's controversial. Why would you not be allowed to speak about things that actually matter to your religious beliefs?
Exactly. Perfect example was that gay marriage thing. Okay, like the Bible says, love the sinner, not the sin. Okay, I have no problem with gay people when they try to conform. And also the Bible speaks about do not conform to this world because you're not from this world. And when I brought that up in a church service, they looked at me like I was a gay hater. I was like, no, you guys are misunderstanding me. Like, I don't mind what they do on their time, but when you come and you force a church or you force people or you force in business, you're making them to conform. When you stand up against them, then you become a gay hater. And I was like, how is that? And I don't get it why churches are not more open about this, because obviously there's some stats out there. There's so many stats that the numbers are in our favor. People agree with us. All you need is one good person to stand up and stand up for all these rights. And people are like, well, yeah. Because if you think about it, on the other side, the gay activists, it's not all the gay community. It's the 1% and 2%, the 1% of that community that yells the loudest, and everybody has to, comply for them. So why don't we also have that person that fires back at them, not in a hateful manner, but more of a ministry way where you go minister to them. Because obviously, again, if you go back to the Bible, we're here to spread the gospel to the corners of the earth. That's what we're here for. And the Bible says if you don't stand up for what is right, you're also committing the sin. So even if the Bible isn't says it, once you stand up for that, then your duty is done. But you at least stood up for that. Just like if I stand up against gay rights or gay marriage, then the next person will stand up against, and the next person will stand up again. Because people are looking for that one seed of positive. and positivity is very contagious. And if you educate people, it will click. It's just people are just not. They're more focused on themselves. And the founding fathers, and I actually read about this yesterday. They focus on public school, and it just blew my mind. They wanted the public school system to teach about God, country, and family in that order. And I said, wow. And look how far we've gotten from that.
I think that's an interesting topic, honestly, because our founding fathers, this is, through revisionist history, and I was going to get to this in a little bit, but I'm going to cut to it now, actually. Our founding fathers have been portrayed as these, atheist people who did not believe in religion and all of these. It's being revised when, in fact, our founding fathers were some of the most pious religious people around, and they had a lot of respect for religion. And it's being changed. Our history is literally being rewritten every day, and this narrative of us being a religion-free society, from the inception, it's just not the case. It's not what actually happened. And, I want to talk a little bit about what you were saying as far as, courage. Courage is contagious. And when you stand up and you speak out against something, that is contagious. When one person makes an act of courage and stands up for what they believe in, other people will do the same. And I have to tell you, first and foremost, I don't think that gay marriage should be illegal, but I absolutely support religious rights to be able to support and endorse candidates that believe in values that they do. So if you don't think that that gays should be allowed to be married, I don't agree with that, and I don't agree with churches that think that. However, I have absolutely nothing but support for their right to endorse candidates that agree with their beliefs.
Oh, exactly. And you know what? And one thing, again, it goes back to I don't care what the person does on their own time, but when you start forcing people to go against their beliefs, then that's when I have an issue with. And David Barton created an amazing, and you probably heard of it, was the Founder's Bible, and that's what I actually use in my classes currently. And it talks about, and I have a problem because most of my classmates are not religious. And I have this little debate with one of the classmates, and he says, well, why you bring that storybook into the classrooms? And I was studying history. Well, I am studying history, American history. And I told him, I was like, well, if you actually look at the Constitution ourselves, they use the Bible, the Ten Commandments, to create most of our papers. And he said, oh, no, that is wrong. And I'm like, and he said, well, most of our founding fathers were atheists. I'm like, no, that's actually wrong.
Yeah.
And I showed them the Bible. I was like, if you look through this Bible, and if you don't have it, it's pretty awesome. I bought it because I love history and I love religion, and it's a perfect combination for both. But it actually breaks down every single section of the Constitution, and it tells you where it pulled it from the Bible. And like I said, I just learned that by reading it, that the Founding Fathers used the Bible, plus they used the three concepts that they want public schools to teach about God, country, and family. And the reason they say teach about God is because that, and like you said earlier, that brings that, once you teach about the commandments and the person wants to do good, and the Ten Commandments are pretty simple to follow, and you teach them about loving their country, then you teach them about loving their family. Three simple tasks that if you looked at it right now where we are in public schools, that is we're far to the right on that one. We're like left field on that one. And I believe, now I'll let you go on this one, is I believe if we go back to the actual founding fathers of what they wanted our schools, our community, and yesterday I was listening to an interview where a professor was going back to class to take classes and help out students where they were being challenged on their faith. And this guy is he's 60 years old, and he's actually enrolling into colleges. He just attends a college, and he actually tries to help out the kids that are they're getting the religion challenged by standing up for them and bringing them the facts, because that's all we need, facts. Facts win any situation at all. So we just need that people to come together, congregations to come together and actually be aware of the surrounding and stop thinking about the church and start thinking about the community, because the church is going to be there no matter what. The community is what we're losing, and what we're losing is the next generation.
Well, I mean, even still, they're thinking about the brick and mortar establishment, the building, exactly. the business. You know, they need to think about the actual religion, the beliefs, the values.
Beliefs.
Exactly.
Because the church is the people, not the building.
Exactly.
The church is what makes. Exactly. I know, and that's what really frustrates when I see, high priests and stuff and pastors. They're like, oh, we need more people in this church. No, you don't. Bring the church to them. Bring the people to them. Oh, well, we can't do that. Why not? They did it 2,000 years ago. All the disciples, they went to the corners of the Middle East and they spread the word, and they died for what they believed on. And they, and I asked the pastor, are you willing to die for what you believe on? No? Then you're doing it wrong. Exactly. If you're not willing to die for what you believe on, then you do not know what the calling is of the Bible. Then you need to sadly step down and give the torch to the next person, because obviously right now we have Christians being murdered overseas and you did not know about it. And you don't want to bring the church, that's too graphics to bring the church.
And they're dying for what they believe in.
Exactly. And they're actually dying. You don't want to convert too much? Okay, then you will die. I said, and we need to have our church know that, because the war against religion is actually happening overseas, and the church, what they're doing, they're putting everybody in this little cocoon, and they don't let them experience the war. Oh, that's too, we can't talk about the church. If you read the Bible talks about sex, talks about marriage, talks about homosexuality. If you actually read the book, the Bible as a book, and you forget about religion, it's a little better than 50 Shades of Grey and all those naughty books out there, because the Bible actually speaks about it just like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and one thing I want to address here, because you brought up the fact that facts matter and facts are important. But I definitely agree with you. But it seems like more and more the facts are changing. The narrative, the actual facts are being rewritten. For example,
yes, they are.
Now we're being told that, like I said, that the founding fathers were atheists and that they established the separation of church and state and that it's all part of it. That's actually not true. For example, the term separation of church and state was used in a letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist Church. It was just a letter, and he was referring to things that he wasn't willing to do as a president because he didn't want to have his religious belief imposed on everyone else. And that's all it was. It's not an act of Congress. It's not an executive order. It was nothing but a letter. And our actual Supreme Court has used the separation of church and state phrase from that letter to justify removing God from our schools, removing God from so many different things, and now making it basically, almost a crime now to pray whenever you want. There's kids that are being, suspended for praying in church praying in school and things like that. I mean, it is getting outrageous, and they're literally rewriting.
If you heard it. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that was it. That's all I had.
Oh, and you probably heard about the kid that got suspended for saying "bless you" when the other kid sneezed. And I looked at that and said, "You gotta be kidding me!" It's just a common courtesy. You sneeze, bless you. People get offended with saying "God bless you," so you say "bless you," and now just saying "bless you," you get offended. And that's what we need to understand. That maybe because atheism, it is a religion. Because you don't believe in anything. And we need to find again the common grounds. Because just because I believe in God and you don't believe in God, that means we can't get along. We probably have the same belief that murder is wrong, adultery is wrong. So why can't we just, I respect your belief, you respect my belief. I'm not going to shove my belief down your throat and tell you believe in God, or you will die. No, because a real Christian will be, hey, let me pray for you. Okay, well, then I will pray for you in my house. And prayer, really, tell me, what does prayer, does that really hurt somebody else? Honestly, I've never seen a prayer hurt somebody else. Maybe on like those movies, exorcism, but like prayer has not hurt nobody. And what's up with the respect of, it goes back to the first, respect of religion. I respect your beliefs. I respect my beliefs. If you have deployed before with the Air Force. I deployed before with the Air Force. It's amazing to see, how, it was not amazing. It's the culture shock. When my first deployment was to Afghanistan, to see them pray, and I asked them, hey, I love to learn. Can you please pray out loud? And they looked at me like, are you serious? And I totally forgot about, I'm not in the United States of America that you could pray anywhere you want. Well, not now. But, and I was like, yeah, you could pray, and even though he believes in a different God that I believe, I still respect what he believes. And it got to the point in society where people are just looking for something to call out and to rebel against, or to use a hashtag activism against. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, please focus on your life, care about your neighbor in a nice way, focus about your life, and forget about the rest. Because right now, honestly, everything offends everybody. You can't even look at somebody and they get offended or they'll sue you. And I'm like, come on here. Like, really? And it's getting out of control, especially in the religion part. And religious leaders that are probably listening, they have to stand up. And if you don't want to stand up for your religion, you have to think about, you really have to do a soul search and say, like, okay, if I'm not willing to die for my religion, then why am I even trying to bring other people to my religion?
Well said.
Then you have to walk away, honestly, because there's people like me and there's people like my friends that we want to go to colleges to help those Christians or to help those people that believe, in something, for them not to get bashed at colleges where, like, oh, no, you can't pray here. Oh, no, you can't read the Bible here. Why, you bring a Bible to school? The Bible was one of the reading materials back in the, I was listening earlier, in the 1800s. It was part of the reading material of eighth grade. And now you can't even bring it to school because you get suspended.
It might offend somebody. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great call, Christian. I really appreciate calling in. You had some excellent points. So thanks for calling in, man. We got to cut to a commercial break, but before we do, I want to comment one last thing here about what you were saying as far as, we can disagree and we can have things that we don't see eye to eye on as far as religious beliefs, but I think that we can all agree that coercion is wrong. Forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do, or not allow them to do something that they want to do that is not hurting anyone, shouldn't be against the law. I think that we all hold those values pretty much solid. I mean, I think the left is probably sliding further and further towards coercion and big government and things like that. And I've said before, every time we pass a law, we are actually saying that for this infraction, if push comes to shove and things come to it, we think it's okay for our government to kill somebody in violation of this. To kill somebody. So I think we can all agree that that's wrong, but this moral fabric that we have that most of us can agree on, we are losing, and we're slipping further and further away. Anyway, we're going to cut to a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Democrat territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
All right, we're back. So when we last left, we were talking about Big Brother. We've covered a whole bunch of different topics: surveillance, policing, the speech police that we are seeing now. All of it is an attempt to control thought. It's all an attempt to basically prevent you from speaking out, to make you so afraid of your government, to make you concerned that you can't even speak your mind without fear of reprisal. You know, as far as controlling thought goes as well, we see things like Common Core, where it's literally changing the Constitution. They're rewriting it in these textbooks. They're changing the way that we do simple math into more complicated problems. It's very pervasive. Again, it is all pervasive. It will slide in, and it will start to slowly change and alter the way that we think and the way that we do things, and it gets worse and worse. It's a big chain reaction. The more we allow, the more they do. The more they do, the more we allow. Eventually, we have no control over it, and it's out of control, and we're already at that point. We're there. Thought is also shaped in other ways as well, and we see this. I mean, it is so blatantly obvious through the mainstream media bias and propaganda that they shove down our throats. Like, for example, all right, they do not allow you to form the proper opinion. For example, I'll just give you one small little opinion here, or a little circumstance here, where I've already mentioned Clive and Bundy, how they had these people who were provocateurs show up, and now they kicked them out, and then they went and shot up a Walmart. Well, now it's being reported on by the media, and it's being linked into Clive and Bundy, and okay, all right, and the whole thing is they're all domestic terrorists, and this is the story now. And they don't even mention the fact that these people were kicked out. They were kicked off of the Bundy farm, the Bundy ranch. They were kicked off. They were removed. So we don't get that opinion. Also, you know, in terms of Israel, all right, the things that are going on in Israel right now are being reported by places like CNN, for example, okay, where, you know, things will get reported about it, like the ceasefire, one of the recent ceasefires that was actually established for the benefit of the Palestinian people. It was not for Israel. Israel had no benefit of having a ceasefire, other than the fact that they don't want to fight. They don't want to fight these people. So then Hamas starts more attacks. They attack again. They break their own ceasefire. That was there for their people. They break it. Hamas breaks it. And then when Israel retaliates against the attacks against them, that's reported as if they are the ones that broke the ceasefire. That is what we hear. But yet we don't hear that, you know, that Hamas is the ones that actually instigated it. You know, Israel has the right to defend themselves. I've spoke about this to infinitum. I know you all know where I'm coming from, and feel free to look up the other past episodes if you don't. But, I mean, it's just blatant. When somebody wants to kill you and they don't even recognize your right to exist, not even as a country, but on the planet, to be alive, to breathe. They don't recognize your right, and they will kill you. Their mantra basically is to kill you no matter what. They want to kill you. You have the right to defend yourself. And the story's not being reported properly. And in terms of news and media as well, we've got only about 5.5 minutes left in the show, but I'm going to try to cover as much more about this as I can. You know, the FCC has been wanting, the Federal Communications Commission, these are the people that issue licenses to broadcast on TV and radio, terrestrial radio, and I believe even on satellite radio. Maybe I'm wrong, but these are the people that control your licensing. The FCC wants to put monitors in our newsrooms so they can ask, why are we deciding to cover that story? You know, what is the reason or justification? And, you know, if they don't want us to put that story out or they don't want us to have that narrative, these are the people that control the licenses So, maybe you can not listen to them, but how likely is it that your license will be able to be renewed when it's time? Because you didn't listen to what the FCC said. Think about that. It's not something that they've had any success doing, although they have tried. And I guarantee you, people, we will see this if things keep going this way. This will happen if we do not put a stop to it. If we do not stop it in its tracks and reverse course, we are headed in that direction. We also have public officials who have special privileges, and I'm just going to plow through some of this. Like, for example, gun-free zones, for example. Certain members of the government, i.e. police, are allowed to have guns in gun-free zones. Correct me if I'm wrong, but being a police officer does not give you special rights or privileges. In fact, you actually have less rights, less privileges being in public office or being in a public capacity, a public servant. You have less rights of privacy. You have less rights than everyone else because you are a servant to everyone else. So the fact that you have now a special privilege where you can carry a gun or do something that a regular citizen can't do is exactly the opposite of that point. Police officers are now allowed to talk on their phone while they're driving, and then a few moments later they can issue you a ticket for doing the same exact thing. We see Congress exempt from Obamacare. I mean, these are the people that created this program. If it was so good, why don't they want it? Not to mention our president can lie to us over and over again, and nothing happens to him. No impeachment process, no criminal charges, nothing. This man just straight up lied to us. And I got a clip here. I'll play it for the last little bit of the show here and just give you the opportunity to hear it in his own words. Obama lied to us 36 times. I won't have time to play the whole clip, but he lied 36 times about being able to keep your health care.
If you've got health care already, then you can keep your plan if you are satisfied with it. If you like the plan you have, you can keep it.
I intend to keep this promise. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan.
If you like your plan and your doctor, you can keep them.
You'll be able to keep your health care plan.
If you like your plan, you keep your plan.
If you like your doctor, you like your plan, you can keep your doctor. You can keep your plan.
If you like your current insurance, you keep that insurance. Period. End of story.
If you've got health insurance, you can keep it.
If you have insurance that you like, then you will be able to keep that insurance.
If you like your health care plan, you keep your health care plan.
Nobody's going to force you to leave your health care plan.
If you like your health care plan, you will keep your plan.
If you like your health care plan, you can keep your health care plan.
If you like your health care plan, you can keep your health care plan.
Nope.
You get the idea. Anyway, this is a thing that we've seen. He just lied over and over and over again. Doesn't matter. Nothing happened. We see government corruption as well. Operation Fast and Furious. The IRS targeting conservative groups. Tea Party groups. We got the IRS deleting emails, wiping hard drives. The IRS is wiping hard drives. They destroyed Lois Lerner's BlackBerry. I mean, this is what we are seeing today. There's tons more that's going on that we don't have time to cover today. But this is what we're at right now, people. We need to wake up. We need to talk to our neighbors. We need to not let this happen. We need to actually get out there, get on the move, and force our politicians to back down. Force our politicians, hold their feet to the fire. Hold their feet to the fire, metaphorically speaking, and make them do the right thing. Make them have less government, less in the police state, less in the surveillance state. It's going to take us because we're the only ones that can stop them from doing it. We have to actually work within the political force and actually do something about it. Make sure that these politicians understand that we won't tolerate this kind of crap. Anyway, that's our show for today. I really appreciate you all listening. Thank you, members of the Mack Pack, for tuning in week after week. We do appreciate your continued support. Don't forget to check us out at OnTheMoveShow.com and our Facebook page, On The Move Show, YouTube, On The Move Show, and here at Blog Talk, On The Move Show. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, get on the move.